Monster Hunter Rise's 2.0 update is out. I've been playing it, and I'm fairly happy with what we've gotten. However, I've noticed a large amount of comments on both my channel and on social media being fairly critical of the game, saying, we're just getting parts of the game we've already paid for, that the game was unfinished and these updates are just adding in the intended base game, and I want to give my 2 cents on that view. So addressing those critics, first of all, you're probably right. I don't know what impact the pandemic or the data leak had on Rise's development, but for whatever reason the game is definitely unfinished. And Update 2 and 3 likely contain content that was intended for the base game. And I also understand the instinct to hold Capcom's feet to the fire. I think people are concerned that we're on a slippery slope. They worry if Capcom notices that they can get away with releasing unfinished products and then adding content later without any repercussions, they'll do it more often. And I'm definitely sympathetic to that view. After all, the people who develop Monster Hunter are probably not the same people with ultimate decision-making authority over when a game releases and in what state. So I get where the critics are coming from, and I kind of agree. However, if we put all of those concerns aside for a moment and just look at the update schedule independently, I think this might be a better way of doing things. Let me explain what I mean. Monster Hunter World was my first game in the series. But now that I've played Rise's 2.0 update, and I look back at how World handled their post-release content, I have come to the conclusion that it was fucking garbage. And we were all crazy to think otherwise. After World's initial launch, it was 2 months before we got a new monster. That monster was Devilju, and he had to tide us over for another 2 months until we got Lunastra. Before Iceborne, World got exactly 5 new monsters, with the last one being Ancient Leshen, which was released over a year after World's release. That whole year of them drip-feeding us monsters sucked. It was an awful way of doing things. And even though it probably wasn't intentional, Rise's way of releasing these big content additions is a much better way of doing things in my opinion. They added a lot in this update. 6 new monsters, which means new armors to craft, new decorations to make, new talismans are possible to get. The meta has shifted. There's new skills to experiment with. And most importantly, they've confirmed that Update 3.0 is coming at the end of May, which means we'll be getting a proper ending to the story and several new monsters. The last time they used that word, several, we got 6. And all of this in just another month. My point is, isn't this better? I can't be the only one who thinks that this is better than waiting for months on end for a tiny sliver of content that we end up devouring instantly because it's been so long. Monster Hunter is the kind of game I would like to play for at least a solid year. And if I'm going to do that, I would like there to be different things I'm working towards at different parts of that year. In World, the endgame was Tempered Elder Investigations. When Devilju released, we farmed him, got his equipment, and then went back to Tempered Elder Investigations. Not so this time. Now we have a bunch of new monsters to play with, and because of the way decorations work, working towards the stuff we want involves fighting different monsters for materials, not just the same 4 over and over. There's plenty here to tide me over for another month until Update 3.0. And at that point, we'll be able to see what the actual endgame is going to look like. So my point when addressing these critics is, yeah, you're right. The game is unfinished, and they are probably playing catch-up with these updates. But are you seriously going to sit there and tell me you had more fun with World? I can't imagine that there are a lot of people eager to go back to the way things were, where we're waiting months and then getting Lunastra as a reward for our patience. And besides, in terms of actual content, Rise is not that far behind World. For example, on initial release, World had 31 monsters. Rise started out with 34, not counting Apexes. In total, World had 36 monsters before Iceborne. Rise already has more than that 1 month after release, even without including the Apexes. And now that the Apexes can be fought outside of a rampage, they probably should be included, which would make our total 43 right now. So, come on. Admit it. This is better. There's all this new stuff to engage with. And in 1 month there will be even more new, better stuff that will probably silence the last legitimate complaints people have. 3.0 is finishing the story, bringing in new monsters, and if we're lucky they'll add in some kind of tempered versions. I've mentioned this before, but if you look at the Hunter's Notes, all the monsters have a tab next to their name that says normal. It can't be switched, but it looks identical to the high rank, low rank tab, which leads me to believe that in the future you'll be able to cycle through them when they release a tempered version of that same monster. So, while I sympathize with the naysayers, and on some level I agree with them, this is already better than what we're used to, and it's likely going to get much better soon. Anyway, that's the end of this video. If I haven't alienated you yet, I'm sure I will get to you in a future video. Until then, thank you very much for listening.